What's up, Niagara? How you doing? Shawn DeLaat here from the Davidson DeLaat Real Estate Team with ReMax Niagara, and always love doing these shows from anything from community involvement to local businesses or anything real estate. And today I am very proud to welcome our special guest, Mr. Chris Alexander. Chris, why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, Christopher Alexander. I'm the Executive Vice President and Regional Director for ReMax Integra here in Ontario, Atlantic Canada.
Right on, right on. Well, thanks for making the big trip down to see us here in Niagara.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure as well. And really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you in regards to numerous factors. And the number one thing is I got my real estate license 20 years ago. And I joined ReMax Garden City, located here in St. Catharines. And I've been with ReMax now at ReMax Niagara, but I've been with ReMax my whole real estate career. And I love ReMax. And ReMax is the best brand. And why did I join ReMax in the beginning? I joined ReMax in the beginning because I saw the most ReMax signs around. And number two is everyone with ReMax seemed to sell a lot of houses. They seem to be the top producers in our market. So naturally, I wanted to be a top producer myself. So go where the top producers are at. And it's been great ever since. So let's just discuss the power of the ReMax brand. I know you love it. Your family loves it. And, maybe we can talk about the ReMax brand, some cool things that might be coming down the pipeline in as far as Ontario and the Atlantic provinces and different things that are going on. And of course, we can talk about the market and stuff like that. But first, let's talk about the power of the ReMax brand.
Well, Shawn, I mean, you touched on a number of things there. And our core has always been, home with the top producer. Our founder, Dave Liniger, in Denver, Colorado in 1973, to our co-founders here in Canada, Frank Polzler and Walter Schneider. ReMax has always been about full-time, professional, top-producing agents. It's what we were built on. It's in our DNA. And, you've been with the brand for 20 years, so you've experienced it firsthand. And it breeds this culture of getting things done and productivity. And it really permeates. I mean, we have an old saying of, if you want to be a better golfer, you want to be a better tennis player, play with a better golfer or tennis player. And it's the same thing in real estate.
Absolutely. And that I can attest to that, even just from my first days of getting my real estate license and seeing the buzz going around and some of the agents who were really doing really, really well back then. It just catches fire, and I wanted to be like them, and it's been absolutely amazing. And you're right, the culture and the full-time approach. That's what I do really notice in ReMax agents. There is no part-timers. They buy in also to the structure that's set up between ReMax and the agents. Really allows for an agent who wants to excel and be a good standalone agent. It's the place to do it, with the splits and everything like that. You can't beat it. And not only that, you're also in control of your expenses, and I like that. I like to, be in control of what I'm spending. And maybe actually ReMax could maybe help me spend not so much sometimes, but anyways, it's really awesome. It's been great to be part of the ReMax brand and looking for exciting things. So what's happening? I mean, obviously we're in this pandemic right now. What's kind of happening with ReMax across Ontario?
Well, I mean, it's been quite the year. I mean, if you would have asked us on March 15th to March 30th where we thought this year was going to end up, it would have been a pretty dire picture. Considering the shutdowns in the economy, the way people were feeling about, just the world and what was going on, it was a dire outlook. But we really took a position that we knew that we were essential. I mean, we fought really, really hard to be declared essential with the province. A big applaud to Tim Hudak at Oria. He was, he helped us lead the charge there. But, we took the approach that because we're essential, we know that, there are basic needs that every human has: food, water, shelter, clothing.
Yep.
And we're in the shelter business.
Yeah.
We looked at the craziness of the early first quarter.
Yeah.
We were really on pace for another record year across
Absolutely.
the country, really.
Absolutely.
There was nothing that was going to slow it down.
Yeah.
Outside potential government intervention, and then enter a pandemic. And,
the unforeseen thing that came about.
But we were also fortunate because we operate the brand also in Europe, and they were about 3 to 4 weeks ahead of us. So we kind of had a glimpse of what was to come.
Leaned on them a little bit and saw kind of what was happening there. That's awesome.
Yeah. And we just really encouraged our network to find ways to serve their customers and their clients. And at first it was all check in on your past clients, see how they're doing, see if you can help them with anything. There's a lot of elderly and high risk people that we work with every day that may have needed groceries or somebody to talk to, because it was really lonely for a lot of people as well.
It was, and I can 100% agree with you that March 15th was a very gloomy day. I felt the same way. I was like, my career's over. They're telling people to stay home. There was no end in sight right at that moment. And, not only that, to be honest, the somewhat fear-mongering, which was good. We needed it at that time. But I didn't feel like going out. But I carefully was watching what was going on as well. And I agree with you. The momentum and demand going into the pre-COVID was crazy.
Yeah.
I was feeling it 2017 all over again. And we were getting all pumped up, myself and the team, for a great year ahead. And then, boom. And man, oh man, I was biting my nails. I'm laying everyone off and this and that. But like you said, the nice thing is I have a team.
Yeah.
I was in a little bit of a rabbit hole. They leaned on me and they got me out of it. I was ready to tap out.
Yeah.
But I had 8 other guys.
Yeah.
They didn't want to tap out. So they got me motivated again. And exactly what you said, we started doing Zoom, our team meetings. We started doing Zoom weekly meetings. And a lot of it was exactly like you said, follow up with your past clients, touch base with people. And again, appreciate you guys fighting for us as an essential service, because we truly were. I can speak for myself in the fact that because the market was so heightened, I had people buy a house without selling because figuring it was going to be easy peasy.
Yeah.
But then the pandemic happens and we still had to sell their house.
Yeah.
We can't wait for the pandemic to be over to sell their house or whatever when the reopening, these people got to make moves.
Yeah. The opportunity for homelessness and financial ruin was huge. And I think that's what really pushed the province to, declare us essential. But the funny thing was, and the lucky thing about our industry is, all the tools that we're using today and that we were using during, stage 1, we've had them at our disposal for years.
100%.
But only, now were we being forced to use them.
Yeah.
And Ben, we really came together as a network, as an industry. Unbelievably proud of how our agents responded.
Absolutely.
And I think, you look at other brands and organizations, and they took a position of, it was almost panic, and they kind of had their heads in the sand. I won't name any names, but a lot of them just kind of put their feet up and said, I'm getting served now, my $2,000 a month. My brand has said I'm only going to pay if I do a deal. And, you're watching them now and they're just trying. Whereas in our network, in ReMax, we just in our DNA, we're entrepreneurial. We had the spirit and we said, we got to figure this out. And many of our agents are having the best years they've ever had.
We've had a phenomenal year, and I can speak to that as well, because as much of, the first month, that March 15th to April 15th, was a lot of not much happening. But then it started to gradually, you felt it. And again, too, the nice thing about selling real estate, we're in a position that we can socially distance very easily. It was a really great, as far as going out, you're going to the sellers' homes, it's cleaned, everything's taken care of there. And then it's myself and 2 clients, socially distancing. So, and I agree with you. I was very happy to see how agents responded to everything and were working with each other to make this all facilitate and make everyone feel safe. So kudos to our full industry as a whole, and I was very happy. It made me feel very comfortable being out there. And as obviously things progressed, it got better. But you're right. The ReMax brand, ReMax top producing agents, because of my team getting my head out of the sand, we prepared in those slower times where not much was happening. We called, like you said, called past clients, followed up on leads, kept working on the leads, nurturing the leads. And then when it opened, wow.
Boy, did it open though. It was unbelievable. So like, I think it was like May 20th where it was all of a sudden people were like gangbusters. It was all those people that, you said that they sold and needed to buy, or they bought and needed to sell. They were just pedal to the metal.
Well, it was basically a doubling down on demand twice, in the sense of that, like I said, going to March 15th, all that crazy demand of people who were just getting heightened and hypered and ready to go for spring market and buy stops.
Yeah.
And then we're closed during March, April, almost into May. And that's 3 months, again, we can agree, of the craziest spring market. So we have all that demand plus that demand, not to mention the demands of COVID, such as people needing a bigger house. The homes were not so great, so some people took their parents out of their homes. Now their parents are living with them. So even those different things created other opportunities that we usually wouldn't have had as well. So it's just been crazy. Obviously, interest rates being low has been great. But I think we can both agree this will most likely end at some point.
It has to.
It won't remain the way it's been. And actually, I'd like to touch on your market report, because I got the email and I read what you said, and I kind of scratched my head. And for me, I felt that the market would tap out, kids go back to school. I thought the demand went through the whole summer and that was going to be it. But then I read Chris Alexander's report and he says, no, it's going to carry on into the fall. And sure enough, nail on the head, man. Like, it actually picked up even more since school started. It seems to even be a little crazier out there now. But I do feel we're getting to the crest. I'm noticing just a few more listings popping up. So a little more demand to help a little more supply to kind of help counter some of the demand, as well as noticing the holding of the offer process. People were getting substantial amounts of offers, and now the amount of offers is diminishing. And even some of the higher priced houses that were selling very quickly are now, staying on the market a little longer, not getting quite as many showings. I think, and I'd love to get your thoughts on things, but I think, we can both agree the economy is not fantastic. I personally don't think we even know the true effects of what's going on in the economy. And I think it's going to get a little rough for us in the beginning of next year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're living in a bit of an artificial world when it comes to the economic picture right now. We've had a lot of businesses and individuals surviving off of government aid. That's all starting to come to an end.
Yep.
The mortgage deferral situation, which a lot of people with negative outlooks, that's what they were really relying on. There was over 700,000 Canadians that had deferred their mortgages. What they didn't seem to account for is there was a lot of those people that did so just because they could, not out of necessity.
Yep. I know a couple.
Yeah, I do too. One person that's in a great financial position, she did the same thing. And, whatever their reasons were, their reasons, but people did do that. And 80% of job losses were in the service sector. So, and the people that are in the service sector aren't your typical home buyer.
Nope, very true.
However, now I think we're going to start to see some of the effects of businesses that, couldn't make up what they lost. Yeah. Restaurants are they're going to be challenged. And those people that own those businesses, they are home buyers and sellers.
Absolutely.
But we've had a real serious inventory challenge. Shawn, you can attest
For
to
years.
this. Yeah, more than a decade.
Yep.
There is no national strategy to deal with that. I've been reading reports that the data doesn't, back that up. However, there's no denying when you have lineups of buyers at houses, and consistently, the evidence is there.
I agree.
There's just not enough product, and there's so many barriers, namely land transfer tax, that are prohibiting people from actually pulling the trigger on moving. You've got a lot of new Canadians that slowed down this year, but it's going to pick it back up.
100%. I listen, the way Canada's kind of handled COVID and everything like that, I think it's making it a pretty attractive place to kind of want to live. And I've always been saying this. I said one thing I think is going to happen from this, we're going to get some good quality immigrants starting to look at Canada for them and their families to move to.
The United States is tightening up their immigration as well. So we're the next best thing, or the best thing.
The best, exactly. That's right.
Best kept secrets, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But that's funny you mentioned the demand, the supply issue of homes, and even for the past 10 years, and we've gone through ebbs and flows, and especially for me, the big great breakthrough, and I don't know if I'll ever see it in my lifetime again, but that 2017 was the craziest thing I've actually ever seen. Pretty much our Niagara market went up 40% in 1 year.
And that's not sustainable.
That's not sustainable. And then obviously the government came out with their little bit of initiatives to kind of curb things, which it did. But still, they curbed pent-up demand. That demand's still there.
Yeah.
And it's still there. And no matter what, this whole pandemic has not been a great thing for any of us. It's definitely not going to been a great thing on our economy. It will take us a little bit of time to get through it. But then again, that demand will be there. There will be constant flows of demand for homes. And I think, I don't know about this. This is a statistic that I found very interesting. And it's been shared through the coaching program I'm in, but they're preparing us for really the one driving force of this demand is going to be the millennials, right? And the millennials make up 30% of the world population. Millennials haven't been great at saving their pennies over the years, but some of them are getting there to that point. And not only that, parents are realizing, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll help and chip in.
Well, they are the offspring of the wealthiest generation in history, the boomers.
Yep.
And a lot of that wealth is going to be transferred in the next 15 years, whether the parent dies or they just decide to help out.
Yep.
So they're going to have significant buying power.
Exactly. And so they're coming up through the ranks as well. And just great stuff. I mean, I'm excited to be a real estate agent right now in the Niagara region. I'll tell you that.
I'm happy you are. You should be.
The growth and the things that I see going on down here is just amazing. And you know what? The funny thing is, Chris, I always say this example. I went up to a party in Burlington 15 years ago, and they say to me, Shawn, where are you from? And I say, I'm from St. Catharines. Oh, you're from St. Catharines. Grimsby was the cutoff point. Anything beyond Grimsby was like no man's land kind of thing, right? And I could go to that same party today and say, hey, I'm Shawn from Niagara. Oh, you're from Niagara. We love it. It's great, And we actually have affordable housing. And that's the other thing too, is that obviously Toronto's prices, Oakville, Burlington, everyone just follows the property train of where they can get their price. And I can relate it to even Niagara region itself. When I first started 20 years ago, people who lived in St. Catharines worked in St. Catharines. They wouldn't move to Niagara Falls to work everyone lived in their city. But obviously prices started to go up, changed. St. Catharines was a little more expensive. You could get a little bang for your buck in Niagara Falls. People started to, so that was the slow kind of migration I saw kind of locally. And then it was the big jumps. Okay, I can't afford Toronto anymore. I'm going to be in Oakville. I can't afford Oakville. I'm in Burlington. Then to Hamilton. And it was only natural progression would finally come to us. And it's been great times. It's been great times for sure. And, as far as the economy, I do want to touch back on that as well, is that you're right. The service industry, I do agree with you. They're not the typical home buyer and that they're not buying houses anyways, but those restaurant owners and stuff like that. And here's the other side of the coin I want to speak to as far as our local market. Let's just say the casino, huge employer. and they have canceled all the current contracts of the employees. And they're saying, hey, you might have a job when we know what we're doing again. But they're out now for at least till probably January 1st or later, potentially.
So there's a vaccine, probably.
You know, and so I've had a couple buddies who own a couple investment properties biting their fingers, kind of going, hey, you know what, maybe I got to throw one off just to kind of get through this. And those are the kind of calls I'm starting to receive now. I've talked to a couple other people. They're starting to get some calls like that as well. So this is where I'm starting to feel that we are going to start feeling the actual effects, you know, and not to mention too, through all this craziness and everyone paying these crazy prices, our foreclosures, and I don't know the true stats, I haven't really looked into it, but for at least Niagara as a whole, very few foreclosures.
Pre-pandemic, do you know what defaults were in Ontario?
Yeah, please share.
1,800.
That's it.
In March, yeah. Up till March 1st, there was only 1,800 mortgage defaults in Ontario. 1,800.
Yeah.
That's, you know, there's 14 million people in the province.
Absolutely.
That's all going to change. And you know what? There's likely tough times ahead economically. I mean, you can't deny it. For real estate, there's still an absurd amount of demand that I think will be able to carry us through. But, you know, balance is going to be a good thing for everybody.
Hey.
I mean, yeah, if you're a seller and you don't get 10 offers and, you know, 15% above your asking price, you know, that's going to be okay too. As long as you get more than what you bought it for 5 years ago, which you probably will.
All relative.
Yeah, you're going to have an easier time buying on the other side too. You're not going to be in this crazy frenzy of like, I got to decide like yesterday if I'm going to put an offer in and it's got to be way over. It's just going to be a lot more breathing room for everybody, which is a good thing.
Absolutely. And I tell my team, I say, you know what? Yeah, this has been a great year, but I said to them too, don't worry. Next year, the market isn't going to crash. The market isn't going to crash because, like you said, a lot of the people who are affected are the service who don't really impact our market. But not only that, like you said, there's also too a lot of people who will still have money through all of this. And that demand, I agree with you. I personally think that, you know what, to me, a 5 to 10% drop in price isn't really a decrease in the market. It's more a balancing because it might drop 5%, say February, but then in spring, you might get 5% more because it's spring market and a little more demand. So it's going to be balanced, and I'm looking forward to a balanced market. A balanced market is Shawn's market. You know,
well,
it's where more experienced agents, again, ReMax agents, can rise to the top because they're experienced. They can get sellers to price their houses appropriately to get their houses sold in a reasonable amount of time. But not only that, I work with buyers still too. I have a team that works with buyers. It's a lot funner to work with buyers when you can actually throw an offer in for them and maybe even get some conditions in and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
You know, and go through the normal process. Like, it's funny. I mean, when I started 20 years ago, the first time home buying process was a lot different than the first time home buying process that's going on now. Like, it's just like, you got your financing good to go? Let me call your mortgage broker. We got to get it good to go. You know, bring your dad through the house right away because you can't do an inspection. And, you know, whereas previous years, buyers had those luxuries and it was, you know, but.
Yeah, it's been stressful if you're a buyer. A lot of letdowns too.
Absolutely.
You know, I remember back to when I was selling and working with a young couple in particular. I remember we lost out on 8 properties.
Wow.
8 properties before they got it. You know, the first 3 they were too scared to bid over.
Yep.
And then they started doing it. They were certain. Then, you know, it was hardbreaking for them. And they had a baby on the way, and it all worked out in the end.
For sure, it does. But
hard.
it's tough. It's tough. And you know what? I mean, again, like, I'll tell you this: 2017. Being a listing agent as well, listings were great. Like, I'm talking having parties with sellers. Like, okay, guys, we'll just wait for all the offers to come in, and then we're gonna have a big party after we get the big number. And it was wild, fun, and crazy. But on the other side of the coin, working with the buyers was an absolute nightmare to the point where it was like, I want to tap out. Like, and not only that, especially the challenge for us in Niagara was us as local agents really were working with a lot of local buyers. At that point, it seemed the out-of-town buyers were bringing their own agents in who were much more attuned to what was going on as far as bidding wars, because it was kind of new to us as Niagara agents. And the mentality of the local buyer was like, whoa, I'm not paying that much for a house. Like, we've lived here our whole life. They know the price values. They go, this is crazy. We can't understand it. But I said, well, guys, you got to change your thinking. You got to think like you're someone coming from Toronto who's got a lot of money, because they're driving the market right now. So a lot of those buyers kind of tapped out at that moment. And like I said, I like to work with buyers and sellers. So a balanced market will be great. And I think it'll be just a little bit what we kind of needed to get, again, a little, just to change the momentum of kind of where things are at. But I think we can both agree, in the end, through the next number of years, we need more houses. We need more units built. We need more in all municipalities, because people are coming and people want houses.
Yeah, I mean, finding ways to incentivize builders to build affordable units, finding wiggle room on land transfer tax scenarios. I really believe, especially in the city of Toronto, that's a huge barrier for a seller. They look at, their cost of what it's going to be to sell their home, and it's, upwards of $100,000. And most of them say, I'm just going to renovate.
Yeah.
Instead of, by the time I pay my land transfer and my realtor, closing costs, got to buy a bunch of new stuff for the new house, I might just renovate and ride it out. So
that's huge, and I like that you bring up that land transfer tax, because it is quite a pill to swallow for some people. And especially like you said, for Toronto, I can speak to it myself. I bought 2 properties in Toronto. I had to pay the double land transfer tax, and we weren't talking small change properties either. We were talking well over the $1 million mark. So that's was
almost 40 grand.
It ended up being, for the price point we were at, it was 60 G's.
Oh, nice.
$60,000.
Yeah.
$60,000 in land transfer tax.
Yeah.
And that is crazy.
Yeah.
And that was in the craziness of the market. People were doing it, but I think if they do lighten that up, for sure, I think it needs to be. I mean, thank goodness it was opened up to other municipalities as well, and Niagara said no.
Yeah.
So that's very nice. We appreciate that.
Well, the city and the province is in a tight spot. I mean, Toronto alone, they get about half a billion annually in revenue from that, which they desperately need.
Yep.
The province, obviously makes a good amount as well that helps fund a number of different programs, but they're finding a way to alleviate some of that in certain situations will really, I think, help bring some more product onto the market, encourage people to move a little more often.
Absolutely. And again, too, you talked about the affordable aspect as well. It would be really great to see some more affordable housing. The only challenge is these guys are paying so much money for the land, though, too. So I don't know if the province has some land they can lighten up and send off for cheap or stuff like that. One thing I definitely wanted to touch on and actually pick your brain on as well, because it's a little concerning to me, and it's been in the talk, the news, you've heard it, taxing your principal residence.
That is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard.
And I 100% agree with you. And I'm going to give you an example of something that really makes my stomach go sour about it. So my mom, she has owned her personal residence for, mortgage free. It's her retirement. And now all of a sudden she sells it and she's going to have to pay a tax on that.
It's obscene. I think, you get taxed if you sell an investment property or non-principal residence. Would you like not to be taxed? Absolutely, but we understand it. But your principal residence that you raise your family in, that you are consistently, having to upgrade, filling the economy with, those kinds of dollars, you have to spend on keeping your house going, your property taxes. I mean, it's just, there are a few things that unite people as much as something that is as disgusting as that suggestion.
Thank you. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. It is an absolutely disgusting suggestion. It makes me bite my nails because crazy things have happened and things get passed without us even having a chance to even say anything. And my concern is it was brought up a couple years ago. It's brought up again. And, we're just going to hope that doesn't happen because it would be just crazy town for sure. And so I think... we're wrapping up here. So Chris.
Well, on a positive, let's end on a positive
Yes,
note.
I love positive notes.
I think, look, Canada, as we talked about, Shawn, is a very attractive country,
100%.
especially the Greater Golden Horseshoe. Typically the country gets between 300 and 350,000 new Canadians every single year. Most of them move to the Greater Golden Horseshoe.
Yep.
We're going to have these inventory challenges for the foreseeable future, and we're going to get back on our feet. So I think, long term, real estate's not a short term investment. So
No, and actually,
long term things are going to be just.
it's
fine.
going to be great. No, for sure. And
Yeah.
and you know what the thing is, we've seen from the first shutdown of the pandemic, businesses that were allowed to open and they came out booming and striving. The ones that had those aspects. Obviously, the restaurant business, the service industry is still at a little bit of a standstill. But my father-in-law, who owns a heating and air business, he opened up and it was off to the races. He hit record months at his place. So once things get gradual, we'll get through it. It could be a year, 2 years, but Canada's strong. We got a country of great people, and I agree, we'll definitely get through this together. And there is no doom and gloom in owning real estate for sure. There's ebbs and flows, and it's funny that you bring things up. I find that more and more that real estate has changed in the aspect of, when I first started 20 years ago, I dealt a lot with helping families and stuff like that. But the amount of people investing into real estate now is far greater than it was when I first started. And it's almost like I'm a kind of somewhat of a commodity trader in a sense.
It feels that way sometimes.
It really does. That people are, okay, stock market's like this. Let me get my money out, Shawn. Help me get me a good investment and different things like that. So, the fact that people are really starting to use the housing market as an investment platform as well, I think that shows great things for us to come as well, that people will feel confident, and it's just another market for people to invest and everything like that. And, for any first-time home buyer out there, save your pennies and just get a house, because it'll be the best purchase you ever made for sure. So really do appreciate your time.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you
Really,
so much
honestly,
for having me.
and your knowledge and feedback was great. We see very eye to eye on many of these things, so that's good to know, and that's the power of ReMax. So I really appreciate. Thanks again, Chris, and see you later, Niagara.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Hey folks, thanks so much for tuning in for this week's episode of What's Up Niagara. And if you want to stay tuned to what's going on in Niagara, be sure to like and subscribe us on YouTube as well as Spotify. You can also give us a like on Facebook, Instagram, and our website at davidsdelaat.com. That's DAVIDSDELAAT.com. Be sure to let your friends and family and relatives and your dog know that we exist, so then we get more viewers. That'd be cool.